Well, good morning and happy Saturday, I guess, afternoon, depending on where you are in Canada. This video is extremely important. I made another post. I see, Ian, you're there and you've seen it. And it's absolutely for every Canadian, every American, everybody in the free world. The sad reality about Fanfare of the Common Man, made in 1942. After the Atlantic Charter, a cry out for all those hard-working men and women fighting for World War II to end all colonial powers in the travesty of the Great War. That was World War I and World War II. You can look at the stage of actors. You will find this all true, backed up in real history by the world's greatest experts. George Soros, Hungarian American, as well as the Hungarian Symphony Orchestra, where you can see his ties to it, made claims that I stole the song protected by their orchestra in Hungary. That was the first one. Then after Facebook failed to establish the credibility of that, the second video, they banned the music, claiming London Symphony Orchestra by the royal family, the Royal Symphony Orchestra in London. Royal family, George Soros. Everything I do is real, credible, verifiable, and absolutely true. Can't be myth busted. We'll see what Facebook tries to do. I'm going to tell everybody, as I backed up in a post, I copied everything Facebook Canada has said throughout the Commonwealth and why my videos are now banned in 74 countries, stating I stole the music from George Soros or I stole it from the royal family. That's the version they claim from this American-made song in 1942, a cry out to the common men and women. Because in America and the subsequent charter of the UN, bound to every country in the world, all of them, folks, well, at least almost all, there's 215, but not all have country status, not all are recognized in the UN. However, of 193 that are signed on to that, they agreed to the terms and conditions. Well, what does that mean? Equality of the man or woman, internationally binding world law. But that's not the case for at least 74 other nations. Thank you, Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg. I wanted, as all those loyal followers know, I wanted 6 of his core group of experts on his payroll, 3 of which I definitely wanted. They do his international legal system of Facebook worldwide. I wanted 3 of those experts to add to my 162 now today. They've provided me that by giving me the 74 nations which have barred this theme, this real credible history. And you know what, ladies and gentlemen, of Facebook Canada and the realm's list of 75 banned countries by claims false made by George Soros, Hungary Symphony Orchestra, look at the financing there, and the Royal Symphony of London to the royal family. The history is there. 2 powers in this world, 2 NWO powers, who made false claims of copyright infringement, leading to 74 countries banning my videos. Who are the countries, folks? Well, they're all former colonials of France, mostly of Britain. Horrific history. There's Germany of its colonial past that currently reigns supreme in some of those countries, as well as Spain, Portugal, and even Denmark. Huge slavery, huge genocides, current today histories. How many communist countries are listed in that list of 74? Less than 5, folks. Less than 5. You can go through it. You'll find Haiti, its ties to the French and the systematic abuse. The French Polynesian colony islands. It goes on and on. Grenada. So many, all colonial occupied countries. Age of empires, kings and queens. Systems that remain in place. Much the same as Canada. Now, Canada backs up the royal family. Why? Why did Facebook Canada have this done? Why did Justin Trudeau do this to me? Even though 3 times yesterday and again today I play the song for all of you. It is the president's own, ladies and gentlemen, an American song from 1942. You will not hear symphonies with any kind of trumpets of that magnitude utilized anywhere in Europe, Middle East, Asia. They're only found in that magnitude in one country in the world when it comes to symphonies, and that is the United States of America. In fact, that new world, that's it. That is all American, all America's own. In fact, it's the president's own. Now, honestly, everybody, if there's going to be a copyright infringement, I'm waiting for it. I'm waiting for the Marine Corps to issue that. I want them to tell this common man, I am not able to utilize their music. I'm not able to utilize it in true history, which is America's history, the false history of America, claiming all these atrocities by Americans in slavery, in American Indian genocide, and the list goes on and on. Now, these things happened, but how did they happen? What is the real history not shared? Not shared. Well, that's what I present. Now, I'm doing residential school genocide. I'm largely focusing on nations that have overlaps and direct ties to the Indian Act of 1876, the precursor for everything of the Nazism and the neo-nationalism worldwide. Credible, verifiable, traced to every colonial power. 5 out of 7 of the colonials infected America before there was the United States of America. Those Americans fought back. Began with the independence led by 13 colonies 250 plus years ago. Americans fought back. They did what was called the impossible. They defeated the powerhouse colonials. First Britain, then France, and the list goes on and on through Spain, Portugal, Mexico, which is the Spain Portugal overlap. A lot of people don't know this. The Denmark, no, they did not directly experience Germany, but absolutely experienced colonial Japan. There are 7 colonial powers. America fought all 5 of at least 7. Not as bad as Africa, but Americans won. They created the 50 states. And it's high time we go through history as it really is and show true federalism, which is not available, not at all, for those 74 countries. Ladies and gentlemen, the USSR, which is now the Federation of Russia, as well as the United States of America, together, after World War II, the Charter of the UN 1945 set out to free all the colonial countries. They've done 85 nations, the most civil and human rights accomplishments by 2 great nations the world has ever seen in its entire history. Talk about unbelievable. But a history you don't find in Hollywood, you don't find anywhere in any of the realms of colonials, and in a large part, almost half of the world is completely kept in the dark. Depends how you look at it. Less countries, like under half, but when you look at population worldwide, it represents 66% of the human beings alive on this earth today. India pushes back. India's still getting away from that, but they're in the Commonwealth. We read stories about, the royal family. It's just symbolic. France isn't like that anymore, but all of their colonial ties are still there. Subjugations are still there. Colonial embedments constitutionally of subjugated countries are still there. Is communism reigning supreme on the world today, folks? No way. Look at royal families, unitary states of all 74 countries. You will find very few, but highly focused on are communism. You hear it every day in the news and the media by your governments. But what of the massive population of colonial countries subjugated in absolute unitary civil law socialist states where you have a savage peoples who need to be raped, murdered, genocided, forced labor through what is really slavery, lack of education, control of their children, massive child sex trafficking? Is it communist states, folks? Out of 74, less than one hand count is communist. The rest are all colonial realm states from the major colonial powers of World War I and II, alive and well today. A little less than half the nations in the world today, 74 listed. Thank you, Facebook Canada. Thank you, Mark Zuckerberg. And thank you to his experts. You may not have joined my cause. I don't have any money. Why would the truth be that for you? But at least in your wisdom to condemn me under George Soros and the royal family, all you've done is shine a highlight on the 74 countries. And I'm telling Facebook world, you can look at the list, count the communist countries, and then put that against all the colonial subjugated countries. Ouch. Ouch. That's not a huge amount of countries at all, folks. So communism or civil law socialism vested in monarchies and absolute dictatorships, imperial emperors, pure socialist dictators, not communism. Very few on that list. Why is the royal family and George Soros, why is Hungary and Lunda's Royal Symphony, or the Hungarian Symphony, largely financed by George Soros. Why are they claiming a song that is the president's own band? It's an American song from 1942. Why does this song bother everybody so much? Why are they claiming copyright infringement when it's an American song from 1942 and the president's Marine Corps band? Showed everybody clear. Why is Facebook Canada claiming I stole it from the London Symphony and George Soros's Hungarian band, the national band, financed in large part by George Soros and his foundation? Same with the London Royal Family Symphony. Why are you guys making false claims? Why is Facebook supporting that? We'll see again what Facebook says about this and their justification for banning me in 74 countries where I have residential school genocide overlapping 62 of them. Exactly the same as Canada's 1867 Constitutional Act, and then the heinous, genocidal, sick, perverted Nazification / neo-national Indian Act of 1876 to obliterate a peoples, to turn them into the savage. The template utilized in 62 of the 74 nations I'm now banned in. I'm going to play Fanfare of the Common Man every day now. I have my new theme song. I'm a common man. A lot of you are the Joe Jane Canadian. If Joe Biden wishes to issue an executive order on copyright infringement of common men and women, talking about the truth of America, the history of the 5 colonials who waged war on America, I guess he can. Donald Trump's song, it was dedicated to him in January of 2021. You can watch it live. I was watching it live that day. I remember it was after the January 6th. It was the end of Donald Trump. That was a clear day. I could give the day, but I won't. Let the trolls do the work. Because they love to steal your intellectual property. They love to make false claims. They like to turn people off of me. There's people posting on my page, which requires massive updating, but Facebook has me so limited now, I can't even alter my own page. I need to change it, but I'm not able to. I've been banned from much of it for the last almost 100 days now. I've been limited where my exposure is, reduced in news feeds because, oh man, he doesn't lie. He tells the truth, but it's not the truth we like. So we try to create other things that are clearly false. Rich people beating the shit out of the little man. It's getting serious, very serious, folks. There's people claiming to have ties to me politically, saying don't get involved with this guy, trolling my pages. People who clearly were not in my political party, clearly not any of my candidates, no CFOs of any constituency associations, zero financial and political ties to me, but claiming outrageous false claims against me, posting all over. It's clearly a civil lawsuit viable situation, but how many lunatics are you going to sue? Alt-right crazies, alt-left crazies. Where do they come from? Well, they come from the idea that you can go so far to the left, you find the right, and vice versa. You can show you in economics why people confuse Nazis. Do you know the largest argument in all of academia on Nazi Germany, Nazi systems, those colonial systems? Are they alt-right or are they extremely alt-left? The answer is they're both. Because, folks, if you take capitalism to the extreme monopoly, or you take state government to an extreme monopoly and full controls, what makes them any different than each other? What makes them any different? Let's just look at this for a second. The George Soros concept, or the extreme tyrant dictator like the 74 countries we're going to look at. Yes, there are communist states just like it, but there are only a handful in this world today. A handful. When you look at the alt-left, alt-right, and why people confuse the line of Nazification, because let's just say, for example, folks, you have, like Japan, where corporations run everything, foreign funded, like people like George Soros, like people talk about Klaus Schwab's, where they control international relations, the royal family, number one. When they have overlap over international law and all the companies funded, financed, and community donated to get a monopoly, you have your oligarchs, they now control everything. What's the difference between a state monopoly and a handful of private foreign company monopolies? Where now, down here in the dumps, is all the domestic businesses, either way, under the radar. Tell me what's the difference. There isn't any. America has legislation, laws, and constitutionality to extremely limit all that. The game of Monopoly is not a fun game. Billionaires love to play it. Your lives are on their little board of games throughout the world. They just want you under their boot. This is the truth. It wouldn't matter if it was state or private. Do you understand what I'm saying? When you give monopoly control over an individual, they're going to subjugate you. Wouldn't matter if it was a private company that's financed throughout the world in a group of oligarchs, or it's a communist state regime throughout the world, like you see China, North Korea, we can go on and on. They're on the list of 74 nations too. Again, less than 5 communist countries out of 74. You got 60 plus that are all unitary crown colonials under extreme subjugation. You don't find Russia or the United States involved in any of this at all. Pretty scary. Almost half the UN states in the world, 66% of the world's population. Are you terrified yet, Canadians, First Peoples? 62 of those nations have the equivalent residential school genocide. I don't make this story 7, video 7. This is absolutely something different. It's something to show American scholars, current President Joe Biden's administration, former Republican administration of Donald J. Trump. They can look at it, you'll find the credibility of everything I say. If this doesn't terrify Americans or any supposed democracies in the world today, that the theme song of the common man is claimed by George Soros and the royal family, and in fact had it banned in 74 nations under their thumb. A lot of people tie in the WEF, which is actually a limited organization in the UNSC. They're third tier down. People ignore IMF and all kinds of other things. There's so many other things with more controls, more power than the WEF. Is the WEF absolutely a Hollywood / George Soros / royal family / French colonial / Japanese colonial / German colonial / list goes on and on and on, plus all the radical multinational billionaires working their way to full monopoly, absolute dictatorships throughout the world, built on human genocide, the idea of a savage class, a third-class slave working class, a second-class merchant who will follow the system or be made third class, and then them, the elite, first class. Oh yes, much, much worse than communism. your autocracies, your totalitarians, your royal families, your empires. They're very much alive, growing stronger each and every day, allowing the $12 trillion focused war against the United States of America and the Russian Federation. Because contrary to popular belief, federalism is very, very limited worldwide. Canada is not a true federalism. Neither is Australia, New Zealand, and many of those who did supposedly get independence, but because they give their international law and relations to the royal family through the Commonwealth Charter 2012, you will see that you've lost everything. In fact, your Constitution gives your sovereignty to the United Kingdom, specifically the royal family. You are not federalist. You're in the illusion of federalism. Your politicians give that power to the royal family because post-1952, upon King George VI's death, they placed the crown firmly on their head and they took all the powers of the crown. You have a parliament, you have an appointed senate, not an elected one, and you have extreme crown customary law that usurps all democracy. You see it all the time. Where do all these laws come from? They didn't campaign on it. They don't go through Parliament with it. And if it is a law that they want pushed through, but Parliament wouldn't allow it, they use Privy Council and order in council and mandate the law. What do you mean, Dave? Well, just look at your gun laws. Look at your gun laws. Look at the guns taken from lawful Canadians that were not fully automatic, but they're called an assault rifle, turned fully automatic and turned over to President Zelensky. Guess who has the video banned in their country? Ukraine's listed there. Ukraine also bans my video. Well, that's weird, right? What's going on here, folks? What's going on here? Look at the list of 74. I thought Ukraine was a great place, according to everybody, even though world experts, the world's best economic minds, say Ukraine's one of the most corrupted nations of the world. Still today, all through Zelensky, the Hollywood-style actor, Ukrainian Bollywood. Hollywood loves it. They just called to have Zelensky presented the Oscars, where they add all these weird rules. Some have to be double vaccinated. Some don't wear masks. Some have to wear masks. Some people can't go. Where's this crown-style class structure coming from in Hollywood? Oh, the British royal family who just got their ass thrown out of the Caribbean islands. Couldn't get to Belize, can't do anything meaningful in Jamaica. Absolutely, completely banned now from Barbados. And the list goes on and on. There's about 15 who are banding together to fucking throw the royal family out. Then, more than that, there's the 74 here on Facebook. When I said I'm doing residential school genocide each and every day, folks, do you know how many stories I can go through non-stop till June 28th, 2022, which is several months away, and then some days, several months away and some days. Every day I'm going to do another story about something you've never heard about in any history out west, because you're lied to. The media lies to you. MSN, the rest of all the media tells you, oh no, the royal family's symbolic. It's symbolic. Except for it gives all your autocratic politicians full crown power over all of you. The low-life, degenerate third class and the absolute savage Indian. This is repeated, this system created first by Canada, nobody else. It's first seen in Canada, and it migrated all over the world. It's the most terrifying thing. George Soros is not a Nazi. He's a crown colonial lover. He's a lover of class structure because he's loyal to that system. He was bred in it. Yes, Nazification happened to Hungary. No, George Soros was not officially involved with the Nazi Party. Sympathizer through colonial system? Sure. There's lots of Jewish people, just like there's lots of first people who betray their own. There was lots of Jewish sympathizers who helped kill their own, just as there's lots of African sympathizers in a multitude of countries who sympathized with the crown. India, still today, there's many Indians from India who are sympathetic to the crown today. It shows their crown autocracy in juristocracy that is actually King's Court. The world of legal experts is starting to revisit this. I've read a lot. Even little light bulbs like me can have a ripple effect, and it's incredible. It's great. I love it, and you're all seeing it. It's awesome. The claims I've made about the PCC, Party of the Canadian Constitutionalists, are 100% true. You're watching it happen throughout the Caribbean countries, the independent states, their official UN states are all following suit. Susan did it first. Canada needs it desperately bad. There is nothing, and I repeat, nothing claimed by the MSN media, Hollywood, and the rest of the lunatic left, the alt-left, which are also the alt-right radicals. You'll find they both agree that the crown is the greatest thing in the universe because class structure is important. Savages being genocidally raped, abused, physically violated is supposedly a great thing. Just like the Nazis, because these systems are even older and in place before the Nazis. They're what led to the Nazis. Americans and Soviets so far removed from the crown in such a long period, they have a hard time grasping this concepts. A little update about Russia today. They finished phase 1, which is all about Eastern Ukraine, passed in the parliament since early February. You can all go back, read it. I cover it as it really is. I follow the Russian constitution as it really is. I can tell you play by play what is going to happen with Russia 9 out of 10 times, and I've been right so far. They finished phase 1. They're going to cement the new free republics in Donbass. There's 2 of them. Read the parliament. Read the constitution of the Russian Federation. Putin can't stop anything or he'll lose control of all his 84 regions. That's a fact. He will do what the people tell him. He'll do what the parliament tells him, regardless of the supposed free world and claims made by Joe Biden. A lot of Republicans know this. They're scared. They step back. I get it. The lunacy we're seeing throughout the world over Ukraine and the crazy radical left and some in the radical right is because of the love of the crown, institutionalization, and this pressure on the United States, this $12 trillion war, which is also a war on the Russian Federation, and others. They're not alone. Switzerland's being called out. South Africa gave a presentation, who's a full democratic republic, folks. They gave a presentation on how to resolve the Russia-Ukrainian conflict. Swept aside, and the UN's looking at both alternatives. But then they got a Russian phobia presentation by Mexico. Oh, here we go, more colonials. And France, oh, absolute colonial. They have a Russia-hating propaganda one they present to the UN. Media just focusing on that, but not a word about South Africa. A democratic republic, full free society with a cemented constitution. Not a unitary state, not a crown-loving state, not a system of class structure and abuse. Where juristocracy reigns, that's not South Africa. They're fixing all that. We talk about democratic republics, but doesn't seem that anybody wants that in international relations. We want to subjugate people. We want to keep wages down. We want to destroy the common man. The idea of Fanfare for the Common Man, President's own band, a 1942 song for you, the average Joe Jane. The equality of the person, universally, supposed to be worldwide. Russia and USA said, you betcha. And for a lot of years they did that. But in the Cold War years, it's largely been forgotten. There's a little bit of work in the 80s at certain points. But Russia and USA are being torn apart by the pack of colonial wolves that have been the leaders and creators of World War I and World War II. Look at the transfer of the African assets of World War I to absolutely the royal system. France, Britain, oh yeah, it didn't go to Africans. It went to colonial allies. Axis ally, colonial A, colonial B. Never for the freedom of the actual people involved. Look at the list of 74. Start going through it. You're going to find a gross reality, which is really what George Soros and the royal family and many other colonials and all of these people, Klaus Schwab, and the list goes on and on, you can trace them to the 7 colonial powers who are responsible for World War I and II and almost all of human suffering known just in the last 950 years, folks. We go all the way back to the 1400s. It's crazy. And even before. I give Eritrea, who's on the list. Read my paper, The Nature of International Law as It Really Is. Eritrea, the first colonial system known on the face of the earth, the beginning, the very beginning of it. Could make this stuff up if I wanted to. Is George Soros a Nazi? Nope. He's a crown colonial lover of class structure, first, second, third, and the absolute savage human being where you steal the original source of wealth. He's a hedge fund money manager. He's a proud first-class citizen worldwide who goes in and destroys the common man through your public institutions. Central banks, public banks are the bank of the common folks. He's made a business of destroying the common folks for the benefit of the first class. He's made billions of dollars doing it. He's created slavery and serfdom all over the world, 15 countries, and continuing. He's not the only one. You want to learn the truth about the NWO? All you have to do is start talking about the real history of America and the Russian Federation, and you're going to find all your answers. That the alt-left and the alt-right completely keep from you because they want to focus on 2 narratives that lead to the same injustices over and over and over. They make all their money and their glory off of this system of class structure and absolute savage class of non-human beings. All over the world, they're still doing it. It looks like they're getting stronger. They've got 65% of the world's population underneath that system. Huge travesties. We talk about human trafficking. We talk about the opium crisis. You can trace it all to the NWO, which is all the colonial countries. You can find the truth. It's not laid bare for you, even though it's there. But when you have a media who doesn't write about it, and they keep writing about communism, which clearly is the minority here, extreme minority, it always has been, even in Canada, less than 2% of the population subscribes to communism. An overabundance, the mass majority subscribe to colonial class structure and the savagery of a non-human being. They classify. I'm sorry, that's wrong, wrong, wrong. It's anti-American. Anti-American. It has nothing to do with free and new world. It does have everything to do with New World Order, which looks a lot like the League of Nations and the whole savage history of the Dark Ages, which produced the greatest wealth transfer. When you account for inflation, you'll find Rockefeller, you'll find them all there. You'll find that those wealth generations are now coming back today, even in America, at least under Democrats. Elon Musk is projected to be the first world trillionaire. The kind of wealth not seen since before World War II under Age of Empires. Scary stuff, guys. Scary, scary stuff. So much for never again. I can show you how many American troops, not the equality of person, have died at the hands of class structure in these countries, removed from their history. Because Americans don't see the colonialism. They don't realize how many times they've been sacrificed for a higher class at great expense of American soldiers all over the world. It's sad. How did Joe Biden, lover of the crown and colonial systems, a complete traitor that is everything America, which is everything in binding international law, which when you read the UN Charter 1945, that kind of behavior, that kind of actions by politicians involved with private foreign corporations is illegal. It's traitorous even. But there's no power against an executive doing that. The executive power of president, there's nothing stopping them. The founding fathers, again, couldn't imagine for the life of them any president campaigning on such actions. Wasn't even fathomable 250 years ago. No founding father could ever imagine a president ever gaining power through absolute New World Order, which is everything against the United States of America. Absolutely. Treacherous, traitorous. But it's happening. Thanks, everybody. That's my video. Get it shared out. Share, share, share. I noticed the drop-off. I noticed that people don't like the truth. I'm not ignorant to it. So many claim they want change, but so many really don't. It's called the institutionalization of Canada. The crown, all hail the crown. The media tells you, oh no, it's not like that. It's ceremonial, but clearly it's not. All the agendas are listed in the UN Charter 2012. Your Constitution gives away all your sovereignty to the crown, to the royal family. It's listed. And the rules of the next holder of the crown are clear. It's not going to end, not until Canada changes its constitution. We're not a settled country. 89% of the land is not available to any Canadians or the First Peoples, none whatsoever. 0.2% is for all the First Peoples of all of Canada. And if you want any of that remaining 10% of the land in private property, you've got to renounce your culture, your language, all song and smudge, the laws of your people, and join the Commonwealth. You're allowed to move from savage to third-class slave. If you suckhole and you help kill your own people, betray them, well, you could be first class. You could be first class. But just like everybody else, if you leave that system, you want to do business inside Canada, remember, you do whatever the first class says, or they'll turn you from second class, meaning merchant business owner, into third class. And if you don't like that, run back to savage Indian. This is the system called Canada. This is a system of many, many other states that largely outweigh communism by a million miles. But don't take my word for it. Go look at my last post. Post this video. I'm going to put it in the link and title. Thank you. That's my video. Share, share, share. Credible, real, verifiable. Waiting to see what Facebook Canada is going to say now. The president's own Fanfare of the Common Man, January of 2021, for then President Donald J. Trump. Now, Joe Biden can issue something. Donald Trump could make a statement, but if they don't, the common man can use that song as long as they want, and it's clearly not George Soros' song. It's clearly not the royal family song. So now what? Where's my apology? Where's the lifting of the sanctions on all my videos? There isn't any, folks. We don't care what the truth is. We're going to claim a false intervention here, and we're going to use and exploit our system in your country because your constitution says Justin Trudeau must give it up to the royal family or he can't be King of Canada anymore. Because Russia and USA won't tolerate that if the UK royal family rats him out. It's sad, it's sick, it's depraved. It's always been depraved. Every political party participates in Canada. That's the legal design. That's my video. Get it out there. Stay tuned. There is a Story 7, Day 7 video coming later today. Residential school genocide. But this is an intervention and an explanation on why I'm using Fanfare of the Common Man by the President's own, the Marine Corps Band. 1942, that's real history. I can't make this up if my life depended on it. And it may. I'm going through a lot of struggles now. It only gets worse. I know.